been testing out all of the newness from the drugstore to help you to figure out what is actually worth your money and what is not. So I have swatches, application footage, some wear test footage. We're going to talk through ingredients and all of the details that you need to know about these new drugstore beauty launches. Let's do this. Starting off with skincare, we have the new Garnier Skin Active Erase It All Makeup Cleansing Balm. When they initially dropped this launch, they came out with two different versions of the same product, but really the only difference is the highlighted ingredient in each. So one has vitamin C and this one right here has hyaluronic acid. And I think the biggest reason why they chose to do that and have two really popular hyped up skincare ingredients in each version is because they're marketing this in a slightly different way than your standard cleansing balm. So in addition to this being something that melts off and removes makeup, it's also supposed to be used as a daily cleanser in the morning or as a mask that you leave on for 10 minutes. I personally wouldn't use this for either of those purposes. I think they're probably just trying to come up with creative ways to get people to buy this over other cleansing balms, but to me, this is just a standard cleansing balm and that is exactly what I would use it for and nothing else. Aside from hyaluronic acid, this also contains shea butter and jojoba seed oil, so it definitely has some nourishing, hydrating ingredients, but again, nothing to me that is like, oh my god, I need to slather this on as a mask. Especially because the very first ingredient is ethyl hexyl palmitate, which is one that can be comedogenic in higher amounts. Like I always say, the presence of one single comedogenic ingredient on a label isn't enough for us to know how our skin will react to a product. However, when that comedogenic ingredient is the very first ingredient on the label, it definitely does make me pause and consider whether or not that's something I would want to slather all over my face and leave on for 10 minutes like a mask. But maybe that's just me. It is on the thicker, creamier side for a cleansing balm, but not overly so to the point where it feels too thick and too heavy and almost has like a pasty quality while you're using it. Nothing like that. I actually think it feels really nice. It's softening, it's conditioning. Compared to the e.l.f. cleansing balm, I would say that e.l.f. is one that is a little bit thinner and lighter weight. And compared to what I remember from the CeraVe cleansing balm, it's been a while since I've used that, but I remember that having more of like a true oil-like consistency where it's like almost coconut oily at first and then fully melts down to an oil-like feel. This is not like that. This kind of just maintains that creaminess. It doesn't feel oily or greasy at all. In terms of performance, I think it's pretty comparable to e.l.f. and CeraVe. If anything, I do think I have to actually work a little bit harder with this on my eyes to remove mascara. When I was testing this out without a microfiber towel, I was like, yeah, I do feel like I have to spend a bit more time rubbing my eyes to get this to actually break that down. With a microfiber towel, pretty much all cleansing balms end up removing makeup the same for me because that towel really helps the process. But without, I would say it's very similar to those two cleansing balms, but maybe not as powerful for eye makeup. So if I had to pick between this and the e.l.f. cleansing balm, which is the one I've said is my favorite from the drugstore previously, I would stick with e.l.f. despite the fact that I love that this one does not have that smell. It's fragrance free, but it actually kind of smells nice. I really, really dislike the smell of the e.l.f. cleansing balm. I feel like the more I've been using it lately, the more I don't like it. It's like the dislike is growing on me. So I wish that I liked this one better than e.l.f. in terms of performance because then I would definitely switch to this one. But for now, I don't quite feel like I can. Verse sent me a couple new launches in PR that I was actually really excited to test out. Both of these are just like right up my alley in terms of the kinds of products I enjoy. The first is the Soft Launch Gentle Hydrating Cleanser. This contains aloe juice, panthenol, hyaluronic acid, and green tea extract, so some calming, hydrating ingredients, and it's fragrance free. In terms of texture, I would say that this is like a mid-weight gel cream. I definitely agree that this feels very soft and gentle and hydrating on my skin, so I have zero complaints. I had a nice experience using it and testing it out. But when I compare this to something like the Prequel Cleanser, which is my current holy grail hydrating cleanser, I just don't think that this even comes close to how incredible that feels. But if I did want to reach for something that was creamier, because Prequel is definitely more of like, it's almost like snail mucin, honestly, like an aloe-y, very hydrating experience. If I wanted something that was more of a true cream, I would still reach for my favorite La Roche-Posay Dermal Milky Cleanser over this one. I think that that one just feels more elevated. I prefer that experience to this. This one, again, there's nothing horrible about it. I'm just not obsessed. Next up is a new eye gel called the Water Rush Hydrating Eye Gel. I got very excited at first because I wondered if this was going to be a recreation of a product that they discontinued that I was obsessed with called the Fix Emergency Eye Mask. I use used that as a daytime eye cream. It was like my favorite thing ever, and then they discontinued it. So I was like, did they bring it back? No, unfortunately they did not. This is definitely not the same product, but we will review it nonetheless. So this is stacked with very hydrating ingredients. This has aloe, panthenol, 5 different forms of hyaluronic acid, all at different weights. This has antioxidants like vitamin E, green tea extract, a lot of nourishing ingredients like sunflower seed oil, all of them 1000, squalane, ceramide NG. Like the list goes on, and it's also fragrance free. So I had high hopes that this would just feel incredibly hydrating and nourishing, but unfortunately this is just something that fell flat for me. I think at first the texture feels very nice. It's a very lightweight gel that feels hydrating and almost has like a cooling sensation on the skin. And compared to the Vacation Eyes eye gel that they have in that yellow tube, from what I remember of that one was just like a true gel. This one is a little bit more emollient than that, a little bit more of a gel cream, but not as much as the Fix eye mask, unfortunately. That one was like the perfect hybrid of a gel and a cream. It had the most amazing smoothing quality under my eyes. This one isn't like that at all. It kind of just like dries down and evaporates almost. I don't know. I put it on and I'm like, wait, where'd it go? It feels like nothing. So for me, it just doesn't make sense to add this to my routine, because when I want to take an extra step and use another product outside of moisturizer under my eyes, I need it to be doing something special, and this just doesn't do that for me. Next up is a new moisturizer from CeraVe. This is the Oil Control Moisturizing Gel Cream for combination to oily skin. The purpose of this product is to rebalance oily skin. So it does claim to moisturize and help to restore the protective skin barrier, but the main claim to fame here is that it helps to absorb excess oil with specific oil absorbing technology. This contains niacinamide, ceramide NP, ceramide AP, ceramide EOP, hyaluronic acid, and cholesterol, so a lot of the same ingredients that you'll find in other CeraVe moisturizers. It is fragrance free, and the ingredient that I think is likely playing a large role in this oil absorbing technology is actually cornstarch. Obviously, there are other things at play as well, like niacinamide, for example, is an ingredient that can help with oil balancing, but that is something that I noticed added towards the top of the label that is not in all CeraVe moisturizers. This is a lightweight gel cream that has a really nice natural dry down for me. I know that they do say that this gives you a matte finish, but I didn't experience that. I think it just doesn't enhance shine whatsoever. I was a little worried that because of the kind of product this is and the fact that it's supposed to absorb oil, that it would just leave my skin feeling like it wasn't hydrated, but that wasn't my experience at all. I think as a daytime moisturizer, my skin feels plenty hydrated, plenty moisturized, perfect to use for daytime purposes, and it absolutely does help with shine control, which is incredible because I can't really think of another moisturizer I've tried that does that in the same way. I think when I think of oil control products, I think of things that are very flat and matte and like delete the look of pores, which, you know, there's a time and place for things like that. But what I love about this is I feel like it still lets my skin do skin things. Like I feel like my oils still come through enough to where my skin looks plump and hydrated, but it like stops it right before it starts looking oily. Does that make sense? I'm sad they didn't launch this at the very beginning of the summer because this would have been such a staple for me all summer long, but definitely something I'm going to keep. Like especially on filming days when I have these bright lights on me and with the glowier makeup products that I have, this just pairs so nicely with that and prevents things from looking like a greasy mess. Love it. Next up is a new moisturizer from Cetaphil called the Daily Facial Moisturizer PM Night. This is interesting for me to see from Cetaphil because it's very clearly an attempt to just like recreate the CeraVe nighttime moisturizer. It's in the exact same packaging, it's the exact same kind of purpose, same kind of words used on the label. And I don't really feel like they've done that before where they're just trying to like dupe CeraVe, which is like, can you even say dupe because they're both drugstore brands? I don't know. I feel like a lot of the launches and the lines that they have are definitely unique to Cetaphil. So I was like, why you gotta do that? You guys don't need to do that. Anyway, this contains a derivative of urea called hydroxyethylurea, and it's a very moisturizing, hydrating ingredient. It also has hyaluronic acid, sodium PCA, erythritol, and is fragrance free. This is a super fluid, very lightweight lotion. It's kind of one of those moisturizers that as you rub it into your skin, it like thins out and feels almost a little bit watery. So I was surprised by how hydrated my skin felt every time I used this. So I definitely liked it while I was testing it out, but not enough to feel like there's anything special about it that warrants a place in my collection. Like, there's literally nothing about this that is anything better than what I already have. I don't know. I just don't feel like Cetaphil needed to do this. Like, their moisturizing creams that are not copycats of CeraVe are fabulous. This just feels kind of unnecessary, but do what you gotta do, I guess. Next up is a new tinted sunscreen from Eucerin. This is the Tinted Age Defense Tinted Sunscreen Lotion for face with SPF 50. The sunscreen actives in this are avobenzone, homosalate, octisalate, and octocrylene, and inactive highlights include licorice root extract, hyaluronic acid, vitamin C, and it's fragrance-free. They follow the same kind of messaging with this that they did with their first tinted sunscreen, and that it's supposed to be a blendable tint for all skin tones. Like, they literally put this little skin tone gradient on it, suggesting that it works for all of these skin types. No, it don't. I literally cannot stand when brands do that. Like, if you're only going to have one shade, don't try to pretend that that's inclusive of you. Like, it's just not. Let's just call it what it is. Anyway, this one shade is light with what looks to be a neutral undertone at first, but as I start to blend this into my skin and as it starts to dry down, it definitely pulls more warm and orangey in undertone. It's not so bad that it looks straight up orange on the skin, but the orange undertones are definitely present. This has a really nice, like, whipped gel cream texture. It feels very hydrating to apply, but it's not heavy, and it is something that has, like, really nice slip when you're rubbing. What's going on with the hands today? I'm so sorry. It has great slip at first, but it does start to get a little bit tacky as you're rubbing it in, so you just don't want to work too slowly with it if you want nice even application. I actually have nothing wrong with a little bit of tackiness, though. I kind of am excited when that happens because then I know it's going to work as a nice makeup primer as well. And I would describe the finish as being very glowy for sure, but not to the point of looking wet. Compared to this original sunscreen from Eucerin, I think that this one is much, much nicer. It's lighter weight, it's not as pasty. Like, overall, it feels so much nicer to apply, and it feels so much nicer sitting on the skin. This one is also significantly deeper in color than this new launch, so again, it's just like kind of crazy that they're trying to say that these are both the same thing, like blendable for all skin tones. Like, I'm like, you guys can clearly see that there is a huge difference in these shades. Like, even just on my skin alone, there's a very big difference in how these dry down and look against my natural skin tone. So anyway, yeah, you guys have heard that rant a million times, but something like this just gets me extra heated. I don't know. Another brand that launched a new tinted sunscreen is Naturium. They came out with their Dew Glow Tinted Moisturizer SPF 50. The active sunscreen filters in this are homosalate, octisalate, and avobenzone, and the inactive highlights are argan oil, vitamin E, niacinamide, olive M1000, bisabolol, vitamin C, hyaluronic acid, squalane, and it is fragrance-free. This is thankfully available in 3 shades. They have a light, medium, and deep shade. Both of these ended up being a lot darker than I was anticipating. At first, I was like, oh, I bet the medium will work for me when I have self-tan on. No. It was definitely too dark, and it definitely looked so orange on me. And the light shade does end up oxidizing a little bit on me, so it kind of transitions from light to light/medium, and it also has a very warm undertone. I definitely wouldn't describe this sunscreen as being lightweight. I think it's very creamy and moisturizing, so if you are somebody that prefers that more weightless feel in a sunscreen, I would skip this one, but once it settles into the skin, it does feel very nice. It offers sheer coverage and a finish that I would say is a combination of both dewy and radiant, so it has a little bit of that like reflective pearlescence, a little bit of that wet, juicy look. The combination of those two things is just a bit too much for me personally. So that mixed with the fact that these shades just don't work out for me means that I can't keep this in my collection, but if the shades do work and if you're somebody that really loves that like extra glowy, dewy look on the skin, then you may really enjoy. Wrapping up skincare, The Ordinary did launch some body care products that I was definitely interested in trying because I believe this is their first big body care drop. Why am I saying drop? Launch. What? The first is one that they're actually saying is for the face and body. It's a 5% niacinamide face and body emulsion. The main purpose of this product is for lightening and brightening dark spots. They say it's to help to even the appearance of skin tone and reduce the appearance of dark spots. Really, the only highlight in this is 5% niacinamide and the fact that it is fragrance free. I will show you guys the texture of this here quickly. It's a very liquidy, lightweight lotion, kind of similar to Cetaphil in that sense where as you rub it in, it just goes super thin, almost a bit watery. I like that in a product like this because if there's really nothing else that this has to offer aside from the 5% niacinamide, then it's not going to be something that I want to replace my other moisturizers with. And so if it's something being added to your routine, then of course you want it to be as lightweight as possible. I just don't personally have a need for something like this. I feel like niacinamide is one of those ingredients that is in just about everything these days. So I'm actually kind of surprised to see that they're coming out with something with just that, because there are a lot of other products out there that not only contain 5% niacinamide, but then other beneficial ingredients, so you could end up getting more bang for your buck. I don't know, kind of just one that I think is not necessary, but that is just my own opinion. The other lotion they launched is the Natural Moisturizing Factors Plus Inulin Body Lotion. This actually specifically says that it is a body surface hydration formula, which is interesting, surface hydration. I'm not even going to attempt to read off all of the ingredient highlights in this. There are so many. Look at all those chickens.
Look at all those chickens.
Like amino acids, hyaluronic acid, urea, allantoin, all of these different sugar molecules, sodium PCA, the list goes on, like I always say. This is very lightweight as well, definitely not as watery as the Face and Body Emulsion, but super, super lightweight for a body lotion. Like I thought I was gonna hate it because of that, but it actually does a good job of moisturizing all day. I don't have tight or itchy feeling skin, which will happen to me for sure if something is not moisturizing enough for my body. In saying that, there's also nothing about this that makes me want to reach for it over my other body creams. Like I just am obsessed with the body lotions that I already have, especially the fact that they smell so good. This being fragrance-free, I think is a really nice option for those that have skin that's sensitive to that, but the skin on my body is not sensitive to fragrance. Truly smells like nothing to me. That's good at least. It's not like a funky fragrance-free. I don't know. So again, just like not for me. I think ordinary is a very good way of describing this. It's like an ordinary body lotion. Last is a body serum with 0.5% salicylic acid. It is called the Salicylic Acid Body Serum. It's specifically designed to treat acne, give clearer, smoother looking skin, and allow skin to heal. Aside from the 0.5% salicylic acid, this also contains sarcosine and is also fragrance free. I will show you the texture of this first. Just got that all over my laptop. How can I do this in a non-messy way? Okay, there you can see. So I currently own another salicylic acid body product. It is the spray from Naturium, and that one has 2% salicylic acid. For me personally, I would so much rather use that because it is a spray. It's so easy to use. You can literally just like spray it on those targeted areas, your chest, your back, your shoulders, wherever you get body acne. This, as you just saw, is not like that at all. It pretty much is just like water, and the issue with that when it comes to, I mean, really any skincare product, but especially for the body, is that it's like kind of falling and slipping through your hands. And when you're trying to go to these different spots to apply it, a lot of the times it's gonna like slip off first before you even get there. What you could do, of course, is saturate some sort of cotton round or towel with this, and then that helps to prevent that issue of it falling through your hands. But I do feel like you end up wasting a bit of product when you do that, and then it's just a bit more of a hassle for me than just using a spray. I don't have to use anything else. I don't have to clean towels. I would rather just continue with that approach, which for me is no hassle, no mess, and is easy, instead of this one. Let's move on to makeup. I was so excited to try this foundation because e.l.f. obviously has been launching incredible products over the past few years, so I thought that this foundation was going to be like next level. This is their Soft Glam Satin Foundation. They say that this hits the dreamy sweet spot between being full beat and barely there. It's supposed to be long wearing, medium buildable coverage, and have a satin finish. There are 36 different shades available in this foundation, and I personally think the undertones are awful. And I feel like I've had that issue with e.l.f. complexion products in the past where the undertones are just like a bit too intense, too yellow, too peach, just like not looking quite right on my skin. So I picked up the shades 21 Light Neutral and 22 Light Warm. Light Warm was way too yellow and undertone for me, and Light Neutral was definitely better, but even still, I'm like, this shade just does not look great. This definitely has a thicker texture than the foundations that I've been loving recently. Everything that I have been reaching for over the past couple of years has been very thin and liquidy and almost serum-like. This is not like that. It's definitely a bit thicker and creamier in feel. At first, I honestly just don't love how this looks on my skin. I feel like it's not doing my skin any favors for at least the first few hours that I have this on. I would agree with their claims that it has buildable coverage and more of a satiny finish, but there's just something about this that I don't know, like isn't looking amazing on my skin. I actually end up liking how this looks on my skin better by the end of the day, even though my skin does end up getting shiny, because that's not something that I normally like, but I feel like that helps to bring my skin to life a little bit more. I don't know. This just didn't do for me what I hoped that it would when I compare it to my favorite complexion products of the moment, like the Maybelline Skin Tint, the CL Skin Tint, the House Labs Foundation mixed with Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter. All of those products do something special to my skin, and I just don't feel that way about this foundation. So unfortunately, this one was just a no for me. e.l.f. also entered the game in terms of bronzing drops. So this is just called bronzing drops, and it's supposed to be a tinted serum that gives your complexion a sun-kissed glow. This is available in 3 different shades, and I picked up 2 but did not mean to purchase this one. I don't know how this happened. So I accidentally got copper gold, which is meant for medium to rich skin tones. I obviously don't have that. So I didn't put this on my face for obvious reasons. They do have a pure gold shade with yellow gold shimmer that's meant for light to tan skin tones. I meant to pick that one up to see if that would be a better fit for my self tan, but I honestly didn't even need it because rose gold worked out great. This is supposed to have rose gold shimmer for fair to medium skin tones. Standout ingredients in this include sunflower seed oil, marula seed oil, raspberry seed oil, vitamin E, ubiquinone, and it is fragrance free. I don't feel that this has a true serum-like texture. It's a little bit thicker and creamier than that, but it still is lightweight. I would say it's more like a slippy gel cream. I really enjoy the way it feels. I enjoy the way that it mixes and applies with moisturizer, and I loved how this looked when it was mixed in with moisturizer and fully settled down. It's literally perfect to match my face to the self-tan on my body, which I was really excited about because this is what I was hoping I would get from the Vacation Studio Bronze bronzing drops. I reviewed that in my Tinted Sunscreen Showdown. I think I tested out like over 35 high-end tinted sunscreens. That was one of them. It ended up being a splotchy disaster, so I was like, okay, I can't use this for that. This is so perfect. It's not splotchy at all. It's not streaky. It's not metallic. It's not glittery. It doesn't look greasy. It's not shiny. It's not even something I would really consider to be dewy or extra juicy. It adds a little bit of radiance, but I feel like it's kind of subtle, which I love because I feel like there are so many bronzing drop products out there right now that just look so wet on the face, and I'm like, enough. Can we just get something that's like a little bit more toned down for those of us that are oily? I also tested this out under the Maybelline Skin Tint, and it works great with that. It doesn't mess up the wear at all. It meshes perfectly. So I'm really excited about this. I will definitely be keeping it in my collection. I feel like this type of product has been missing for me because I haven't been able to find one yet that I really love the look of. Next up, we have a new liquid blush from L'Oreal. This is the Lumi Lait Liquid Blush. I originally purchased this in 2 different shades, and then as I was like done testing them out and ready to film this video, of course I get a PR package from them with all 6 of the shades they launched. So the application footage I got is of those 2 shades I purchased, but I will swatch all of these out for you now that I have them. So this is Dewy Bright Pink, Dewy Worth It, Dewy Bright Coral, Glowy Gold Pink, Glowy True Rose, and Glowy Worth It Medium. The glowy shades have a metallic iridescent shimmer, and the dewy shades don't. They're just like satin creamy shades. The 2 shades that I purchased that you'll be seeing me apply are Dewy Worth It and Glowy True Rose. I didn't end up loving either of these on my skin, and I honestly just don't love any of the shades that they launched. I feel like they're just all too warm, too punchy, too bright. Like they're just not shades that are flattering on my skin, which is a huge bummer because I actually think that these perform so well. They have a lightweight thin cream texture that's really easy to work with. It's buildable and does build up to full pigment pretty quickly, so a little bit goes a long way. Dewy Worth It definitely has just more of that nice glowy finish, but I don't think it looks too overly dewy on the cheeks, which is good because I don't love that. The glowy one I think does have a really nice radiant finish, but despite it looking like really glittery in the swatch, I don't think it translates translates to that on the cheek. When I think back to the experience I had with the Maybelline liquid blushes, which I reviewed in my last New at the Drugstore video, those ended up looking very highlightery on my cheeks, and they were also really sheer. I remember them being super sheer and then basically like disappearing once I set them with powder. So I tried to rebuild some pigment on top of the powder, and then that highlight kind of like clung to my cheeks and became very apparent and kind of metallic looking. The L'Oreal blushes have enough pigment to be able to be set with setting powder and then left at that. I don't have to try to rebuild it up to see that pigment come back. They're just pigmented enough on their own, and they also have really great staying power. They last all day long for me. So I'm really bummed that I don't love any of the shades. I'm not gonna keep these in my collection because I just know, like, even if they perform well, if I don't love the shades and how they look on my skin, then I'm never gonna reach for them. So hopefully they'll launch more shades in the future because it's a great formula. So Essence launched a new blush called Blush Crush that, at least on Ulta, appears to be a replacement for the blush that they had before called The Blush. That is like a forgotten blush for me. You can still get it at places like Target and CVS, but it used to be carried at Ulta. I remember purchasing it there before, and it's no longer on their website. I really used to love that blush. It's one of those that like escaped me over the years and I totally forgot about it, but I did used to really love that, so I was excited to test this out, hoping it would be like an upgrade for that. It's the same exact price as that last blush. It's also $3.99, and there are 6 different shades in this. I picked up 2 of them and I feel completely bamboozled. I just don't think this looks anything like the photos. Oops. Oh, good. I broke it. No. Really? I'm not kidding, was this close to the top of my table and dropped it and it broke. I mean, I guess that's what you get for a $3.99 blush. I get this back in. Popped it back in. So I picked up the shades Caramel Latte and Deep Rose, and I do not feel that these look the way they look online. Deep Rose is described as a coral, and in the images, it looks significantly lighter than what I have here. And this is not something that I would have purchased had it been shown true to color online because it's too dark for my skin. Caramel Latte is described as a warm nude, and similarly, looks a lot darker in person than it does in the photos online. I feel like the undertones of this one also look completely different. Like, these are not the same blushes. Anyway, I just think that this is fine. I don't think that this is an upgrade from the blush. I definitely preferred that. I remember that one having more wearable shades as well that were true to picture. And while this isn't bad, there's nothing about it that I love. I definitely don't feel the need to keep this in my collection. It is, you know, it's a $3.99 blush, and I kind of feel like that's exactly what you got here. L'Oreal came out with a highlighter in their 24-hour fresh wear range. This is the Infallible 24-hour fresh wear highlighter. There are 2 shades. I originally picked up this one. What's the name of it? That drives me nuts. I know that that's really just a YouTuber thing, but it's the kind of packaging where the name is on the sticker that you pull off to open it, and then the name disappears. So I originally purchased the deeper of the 2, which is Champagne Glow. I'm gonna do some side-by-side swatches. It looks really beautiful in the pan. As you can see, it's completely broken. Yikes. I don't even remember dropping this. Proceed with caution. And then the lighter of the 2 was sent to me in a PR package. This one is called Icy Gold, and I hate it. It's this right here. Like, ew. Just don't think that's a pretty shade. I just do not like this highlight formula. I think it's too powdery. In certain angles, it actually looks glittery. Like, I can see the metallic glitter on my cheeks. It's just not at all what I like in a highlight, which is something that melts into my skin and gives me that glowy look without the look of any glitter or like metallic effect. It's just not one that I would recommend. I think that there are far better options at the drugstore. Essence is one that has an incredible highlight, the pure nude highlighter that's been around and been raved about forever on YouTube. That is so much better than this. Moving on to eye makeup, we have the Essence Lash Princess Mascara Primer. I tried this out so many times wanting to love it, but I just don't feel that this does anything for my lashes. Like, it sure might add a little bit more volume, but I actually feel like it kind of weighs my lashes down a bit and doesn't give them that like va-va-voom effect that my favorite lash primers do. So I would skip this one. I was definitely disappointed by it. The L'Oreal Panorama Mascara is something that I have heard so many people absolutely love. I've had a lot of people ask me to review this and compare it to Maybelline Lash Sensational, so let's go ahead. L'Oreal Panorama has a tapered wand, as you can see. The head of the wand is not too flexible, but it's really bendy here, which I do think is a problem. I am just convinced that stiffer wands are better because it allows you to apply as much pressure as possible, which I think just makes the mascara go on better and gives you better results. The formula is definitely one that leans wet, but because it's not too thin and not too thick, it doesn't end up feeling super wet and heavy. I would say that this is just good across the board, but not great. Like, it has good length and volume and separation, but none of those things are great. Like, not as much length as I like, not as much separation as I like. I'm just not obsessed with this one. I can totally understand why people enjoy it, but compared to all of the other mascaras I've tried, I'm like, it's just nothing special. I also picked up the CoverGirl Eye Enhancer Mascara because I saw that they had it in a berry brown shade, so that is specifically why I wanted to try it. This has a curved wand with nylon bristles. This has a thicker formula that is very wet, but it doesn't layer up the best on my lashes, so I feel like it looks a bit thinner without much volume at first, and if I try to build this up to add more volume, it gets pretty clumpy quickly. Overall, it's just not something that I think competes with my favorite mascaras, and I also feel like this shade ended up pulling more burgundy, more purpley in undertone than I wanted. I was hoping for it to be a bit more brown than that with like maybe a little bit of that berry, and I feel like it translated to just more of like a berry mascara, which is fine. It's just not something I love on myself. Last for mascara is something that was so hyped up on TikTok. It is the Lash Sensational Firework Mascara. This has a straight wand with very short plastic bristles, and it is way, way, way too flexible. No. This formula is also very wet. It's not overly thick, but because it's very wet and because the wand is so flimsy, you don't get the separation that you need. You can build this up to get good length and volume, but it does get clumpy, and once that happens, there's nothing you can do with this mascara to fix it because the wand is not going to separate for you. Like, I had to end up going in with tweezers to separate my lashes just to get this to not look clumpy. So I will not be keeping this one. I do not recommend it, and I do not think they should have tarnished the Lash Sensational name by putting that on this label. It does not compare. I tested out 3 new brow products that all claim to give you a laminated, long-lasting, brushed up effect. The first is the L'Oreal Paris 24-hour brow lamination gel. This one has a really tiny wand that I actually like because it allows you to be more precise with the areas that you're applying the gel and where you're going in to brush. I also really liked the way that this felt because it's not super wet or goopy or stiff or sticky, but then I think that translated into my results because sadly this one just didn't keep my brows Didn't keep my brows brushed up. The hold just wasn't there for me. I also tried the e.l.f. Brow Laminating Gel. This one also has a short wand. It's just like a little bit fatter and comes with some additional brow tools at the end that I did not touch. This is definitely a little bit thicker than the L'Oreal gel, but it's not like super heavy or anything like that. And it is drier compared to some of the other formulas I've tried that are like extra wet. I thought that this looked amazing at first. I loved the way that my brows looked, but you could definitely tell by the end of the day from like the arch of my brow to the tail end that the hold just wasn't there for that. Those brows had fallen quite a bit. And that is what tends to happen with me and my problem brows. I rarely find brow gels that keep my brows up all day. This one came the closest for sure. I actually meant to include this in my last new at the drugstore, but I totally forgot. It is the Maybelline Super Lock Brow Glue. This also has a very short, kind of thicker wand. This one is more of a wet gel. You can definitely kind of feel it stiffening on the brows as you go in for a second layer, and it's one that does feel like a little crunchy to the touch, but it's nothing that feels uncomfortable on my face. Like, it's only when I'm going in to touch it that I'm like, oh yeah, that's a little bit of a crunchy brow gel. Again, because it's not uncomfortable to wear and I don't notice it otherwise, I think that that's totally fine, especially because this one actually works. While it's not perfect, it definitely holds up the best out of all 3 of these, so if you weren't sure which one from the drugstore would be the best fit for you, I would go for this if you have problem brows like me. We have made it to the final category for this video, which is lips. My fave. Essence launched a lot of new lip products and I was intrigued by so many of them for different reasons. I think one of the big reasons for a lot is that they had vanilla in the title. You guys know what vanilla lip products do to me. The first one I picked up is the Super Balm Glossy Lip Treatment. So this is supposed to be a lip superhero that offers 10-hour hyperhydration. It contains sunflower seed oil, shea butter, cacao seed butter, vitamin E, and hyaluronic acid. This one is not one of the ones that had vanilla in the title. It has just like a slightly sweet fragrance. I could not tell you for the life of me what that smells like. It's just a little sweet. This is a thinner formula, and you can feel a little bit of that grittiness from the glitter that's in it. It's not awful, and if you build it up, you can get it to feel a bit more comfortable, and it's not like the most noticeable thing ever, but I just don't love that about it. And I thought that this was just gonna end up being clear, but it's definitely not. It kind of translates to like a sheer milky white with purple iridescence. And I honestly think it looks awful on my lips. It's like I have frostbite with a layer of milk on top. I do not like how it looks, and because it doesn't feel amazing, I did not feel sad about it. The Chili Vanilla Lip Glaze, you know why I bought this, was potentially even more disappointing. First of all, I mean, yes, there's a little bit of a vanilla smell, but I didn't smell anything while I was applying this. This contains castor seed oil, oleic polyglycerides, and ceramide NG, but despite that, feels like it has basically nothing beneficial for my lips because it's super thin. It's also something that feels a little bit gritty from glitter, and it is just not conditioning at all. Like, even when I try to build this up and glop on a lot of product, the second I rub my lips together, I feel like it disappears, both in texture and in shine. Like, there's nothing there. Huge fail, can't recommend it less. The Chili Vanilla Lip Mask is something I was so excited to try. I was like, oh my god, are they gonna try to dupe Laneige? This contains shea butter, jojoba seed oil, and squalane. This one has a delicious vanilla fragrance. The smell's great, tastes good. But unfortunately, this one just doesn't work the best for me. It is a thinner texture that I really have to build up and layer up to get it to feel balmy and comfortable, but even in doing that, it fades really quickly. It's certainly not a dupe for Laneige. It doesn't even compare at all. They have completely different textures. This one is much stiffer, and while it does melt down a little bit when you're rubbing it on, it's just nothing like the experience that you get with Laneige, which is like luxury. It's so melty and amazing and cushiony. This is not like that at all. My favorite of everything from Pacifica is definitely this one. It is the hello. My favorite of this one from Pacifica. Those were all from Essence. I'm not okay. Okay, so those were all fails for me from Essence. One that I definitely liked better than those three is the Pacifica Lip Gloss. This is similar to the Essence Glossy Balm treatment in the purpose of it. It's also supposed to be something that is a gloss and a balm. It's supposed to be plumping, hydrating, and it's available in 4 different shades / flavors. The one that I have is Sugar Cake, so it ends up just being clear on my lips, and it absolutely smells like sugar cookies. Oh my god, it smells so good. Yum! Standout ingredients in this are jojoba seed oil and shea butter, and this one is thinner, but I'm able to build it up to get it to feel like a jelly balm, which I think feels really nice. However, it does fade pretty quickly, and it doesn't really do anything to make my lips feel conditioned long term. Like, there's no long-term benefit with this. It's just that initial, like, ooh, I like this jelly feeling. So while I think that this is definitely better than the products I tried from Essence, it still isn't one that I think is worth running up to buy. The Ordinary launched a lip balm a couple of months ago now. This is the Squalane Plus Amino Acids Lip Balm. Look at this funky packaging. I've never seen anything like it. I wonder if they were trying to make it look like a skincare bottle or something. Cute. So the main ingredients that they are highlighting are squalane and a list of amino acids. There are some other ingredients in this that are hydrating and softening, but those are the standouts. This has no added fragrance and no smell, but I did notice that it has almost a little bit of like a sandy taste. It's not super noticeable. I was just like, what is that? Is that sand? This is such an interesting lip balm. It's not occlusive at all, at least for me. It feels very thin and very slippy, and it almost feels like damp on my lips. There's no smoothing with this or real shine. I do think it gives you like a little bit of a sheen, but that kind of disappears quickly. I just wouldn't say that this is something that is long lasting in the sense that you just like continue to feel that nice texture on your lips. Not that it really has a nice texture to begin with. But I have put this on my lips when they feel dry and have had some flakes, and it actually has helped with that. So if you are looking for a lip balm that just like feels thick and comfortable and amazing, this is not going to be for you, but maybe if you're looking for something that can just add some extra help with the hydration and then you could like layer something else on top of it, you may really enjoy this. I just think when I think about all of the other lip balms that I have that help with the dryness and flakes, but then also look / feel amazing, what? I don't feel like I need to keep this. Help. Okay, I really need to wrap this up. We have 3 more products to go. e.l.f. launched a sunscreen lip gloss. This is called the Sun Boss Gloss with Broad Spectrum SPF 25. The active sunscreen ingredient is zinc oxide, and this also has green tea seed oil, castor seed oil, and hyaluronic acid. This is available in 5 different shades, and I picked up the shade Pink Me Girl, which is described as a pink beige. The shade looks like absolute perfection in the swatches on their website. Like, that is my kind of lip shade, but in person on me, I do think it pulls a little bit warmer, a little bit more like corally almost. It's not like it's a straight up coral, but compared to these photos, I'm like, I don't quite get that, and I wish I did. And I also don't feel like I'd get this same kind of effect on my lips. Like, that looks like the perfect amount of pigment, the perfect amount of juicy gloss. And on me, I feel like it just has like average levels of shine to where it's like I've got this medium to full pigment lip product on with a little bit of sheen. I think it looks pretty, just not as like, amazing as the photos on their website, which, I mean, that happens all the time. The texture isn't my favorite either. It's a little bit stiffer, thicker, tackier. It's definitely not something I actively dislike, where I'm like, oh, this is awful, but it's not amazing either. If this didn't have SPF 25, I would say skip it 100%, but because it does, and it's only $7, I think it's a nice option for those of you that want a lip gloss with sunscreen with some good color payoff, because we don't really have many of those at that price. Second to last is also from e.l.f. It is their Pout Clout Lip Plumping Pen. This is supposed to be an all-in-one plumper, gloss, and balm that drenches lips in a sheer wash of color while plumping the look of lips with an invigorating tingle. It's available in 8 shades, and I have the shade Pinky Out. This one is described as a light pink nude, and again, oh my god, the pictures that they have online, I'm like, this looks beautiful. The image of the first set of lips, I'm like, I want that. It does not look like that on me. It's definitely, again, more of like a warmy, slightly corally pink. It's just not my kind of shade, and it's also not my kind of product. I feel like there's just nothing about this that is amazing. The texture is also a bit thicker and a little bit tacky, which I think would be fine if it looked really nice, but I just don't think it does. The pigment to me is just like uneven, and it grabs onto certain areas of my lips, looks a little bit patchy in some areas. And the shine is good, but nothing amazing. So I'm just like, why would I reach for this when there are so many other lip glosses that deliver similar amounts of pigment but look and feel so much better? I also don't think this does anything to plump up my lips. It does have a cooling sensation that I think, you know, isn't too intense compared to a lot of the other lip plumping products that have launched recently, but doesn't do anything to plump for me. Meh. Last for this video is a new launch from Naturium, or I guess an expansion of a launch from Naturium. This is their Phyto Glow Lip Balm, and they came out with a fruity collection. There are 4 different shades in this fruit collection. The first is Peach. This is a very light peachy shade that I was worried to try. I feel like shades like this can just look really off on my skin and against my teeth, but I actually ended up liking this a lot more than I thought I would. It's not too orange, it's not pulling too coral, and to me this has like an orange dreamsicle smell. Oh my god, it smells so good. It's like the Ulla Henriksen lip treatment, if you've tried that. Yum. Watermelon is similar to peach, but just a little bit deeper and a little bit pinkier, but it still does have some like peachy, corally undertones for sure. This has a classic artificial watermelon fragrance, which you guys know by now I have never liked. So this one's just not for me personally, but I will say compared to something like the e.l.f. watermelon products that launched, this is much more stomachable. It's just not so intense, so if you like artificial watermelon, you'll probably really like this. Mango is a dark, very, very yellow-based orange. Like, you can just see the yellow in this when I'm applying it, and it just does not look good on my skin. If you have very rich, deep skin, I think that this would look beautiful on you. It's certainly not made for a fair girl like me. Ew. I don't know that this screams mango to me when I smell it. I feel like this reminds me of my peach sparkling waters. It's like kind of giving me more peach. It smells nice though. And last is strawberry, which is a dark, very orangey red. Again, just not something that looks flattering on me. I was definitely bummed about that. I feel like a lot of these, I'm like, that's not really what I would think of for that fruit. Like, the undertones are quite a bit different than what I would actually have come up with for each of these fruits, but that's fine. And I definitely do smell strawberry in this, but I also kind of smell plastic. I feel like we've had some really good strawberry lip launches, like this one. This is the Ulla Henriksen Strawberry Sorbet. That one smells better to me than this one. The one thing that I will say I very much noticed about these is that they all seem to be significantly harder to squeeze than the other ones that I have. Like, oh, sweet heaven, I'm like squeezing on this so hard. And these have always been difficult to squeeze, but I feel like these were like especially stiff. I don't know. So this overall was just like not a collection that was a great fit for me. I would say the same thing happened with their, was it the latte collection that they launched last summer, which was more like browns and nudes, but those I think from what I'm remembering also all pulled very yellow and very warm in undertone. And those are just not shades that work for me. So this one is a fail. All right, you guys, that is it for this video. Those are all of the new drugstore launches that I have tried recently. I hope that you found this helpful. Let me know your thoughts as always in the comments below. Are you interested in testing anything out that I talked about? Were you interested in something that you're now going to pass on because of my review? Did you have a different experience to me with any of these products? Let me know. I can't wait to chat with you in the comments. If you did enjoy this and would like to see more like this from me, please don't forget to give this a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, click on that notification bell, and send my channel to a friend. Thank you so much for your support in doing that. It really does help me out, so I appreciate you so much. Thank you for watching my videos. I love the freaking heck out of you guys. Make sure to stay tuned for my next one because that will be up in a few days. But until then, I hope you have a great few days.